One of the absolute best things about being an expat is being able to travel out of the country of your choice to the neighboring ones. I'm not talking about simple visa runs. I'm talking about actually exploring a new place while possibly checking some things off your bucket list. You can either do it as part of your visa run or for the best reason to do anything. Because you can. I mean, it's a great big world out there with a lot to see, and if you live in the US or Europe, it can take you thousands of dollars to do the very same. Well, not here. Not even close. I lived in Da Nang, Vietnam for 2.5 years, and during that time I visited just about every country close to Vietnam. Here is how to do exactly that, how much it costs, plus some additional tips and tricks that I guarantee will prove useful. By the way, my name is Martin, and I've been living abroad for the past 4 years. And before we continue, please don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the Elitka channel for a lot more on living abroad as an expat or a nomad. So we're gonna take Da Nang, Vietnam as a base, though it doesn't really matter where you're traveling from. A lot of the principles and the tips and tricks that I'm gonna talk about in this video will apply to just about any major city in Southeast Asia. So let's start with the easiest places to travel to from Da Nang. By the way, before going to any country, do check the visa requirements for your country to avoid losing time and money. Thailand. Thailand needs no introduction. It's definitely the easiest place to travel to from Vietnam. There are great many things to see in this country, from beautiful Chiang Mai and Pai up north to bustling Bangkok and Pattaya, and many beautiful national parks and islands all over the country. All of which are great places to live in for expats, by the way. Matter of fact, Chiang Mai is where I moved to after living in Da Nang, and where I'm currently filming most of my videos. To get to Thailand, no matter what visa you have, you need to fill out a TDAC, Thailand Digital Arrival Card. It has to be filled out no more than 3 days before your trip. You can also do it right at the airport, but I prefer doing it online so I don't have to spend more time in line at passport control. The cheapest way to go to Thailand is of course to fly to Bangkok, after which it's cheap and easy to fly domestic. One time I flew from Bangkok to Chiang Mai for $35. Definitely do your research here because some airports will be cheaper than others. For instance, if you want to go to Samui, price-wise you'll be better off flying into Surat Thani and then taking a ferry over to the actual island, because the airport in Samui is private and it will cost significantly more to fly there. The way I look for cheap prices, and keep in mind this is not a sponsored video, I actually do this, is I use the Momondo app. I find good prices, keeping flexible on the dates, I find what airlines fly where I want to fly, cross-check on different devices, cross-check with their websites, all of which may or may not have a better price, and either book from a Momondo link to their site or from the airline directly. AirAsia Airlines often has very good prices in Southeast Asia. Be wary of booking via side websites that Momondo will sometimes link to, because if anything goes awry, it'll be tough to change anything or to get your money back. I've had some bad experiences, though most of the time things went well for me. My priority is always getting the best deal with confidence that I can get a refund if anything changes on their side. Everything else is secondary. Maybe someone has a more effective approach, a more effective way to find tickets. If so, please do share. Malaysia, the second easiest option. When you fly into Malaysia, you also need to fill out their arrival card, and the principle is the same. No more than 3 days before your flight online or right at the airport. There will be direct flights to Kuala Lumpur, a super interesting city with a very impressive skyline, surprisingly gritty alleys, super yummy street food, and unique architecture. It can be shady sometimes, so be aware of your surroundings in KL. Malaysia as a whole, though, is a multinational country with quite a lot of history, and good places to explore would be Malacca, a 2-hour bus ride south from KL. You can book the bus online from this website, redbus.my for instance, or buy the tickets at the bus station. Buses can sometimes run quite late, so be aware of that. Maybe things have gotten better, but this was our experience. There's quite a bit of history in Malacca. The port paid tribute to China, then it was conquered by the Portuguese, then it was purchased by the Dutch East India Company, until in the 19th century it ended up in the hands of the British until Malaysia gained independence in 1957. As a result, you can see plenty of influence of all of these cultures. Another good place to travel to is the island of Penang. It takes a lot longer, about 4+ hours by bus or train, so it's easier and cheaper sometimes to just fly there. Penang is home to Georgetown, one of my absolutely favorite destinations in Asia with some great food and architecture, as well as some amazing street art. The whole town is like an outdoor museum with some unbelievable food options like this Michelin-star dim sum place. I'll add a link to it in the description. One of the good reasons to go to Malaysia is to get some medical procedures done. As far as Southeast Asia goes, Malaysia arguably has the best price-quality combination for medical procedures, and we did a full medical checkup for about $250 per person. I have a video about this, you can take a look at it right here or in the description. There are of course other things to do in Malaysia, one famous area being the Cameron Highlands, a way to cool down in this country, or the Langkawi Islands, and the island part of Malaysia with Kota Kinabalu being the most popular point of entry. Laos. Most expats who live in Da Nang enter Laos regularly and briefly as part of their visa runs. There's obviously a lot more to any country than just standing around in a parking lot for an hour waiting for your passport to get stamped. Laos PDR, which actually stands for People's Democratic Republic, has a nickname. Laos PDR, Laos Please Don't Rush. And one interesting thing about Laos is there are only about 8 million people in the country. Now we're talking Southeast Asia, one of the most populated corners of the world. 8 million is actually comparable to Scandinavian countries, placing it between Denmark and Sweden. And partially because of that, it's definitely not comparable to any country of similar size in Southeast Asia. What this means is Laos is super chill and not crowded at all. When we walked around Vientiane at 8 p.m. in the evening, at some point we realized we were the only ones out. It actually felt kinda eerie, but it's a very safe city like most in Southeast Asia. So how do you do it, and why would you? You can of course choose to fly to Vientiane directly, but a cheaper way to do it, especially if you're flying with a group, is to fly into Udon Thani, Thailand. Then take a bus to the border and take another one across the border. Make sure to download the Loca Taxi app, the main taxi app for Laos. Grab doesn't work there. And get an eSIM in advance. If you don't have that option, it may be possible to buy a SIM card right at the border off of someone to get connected, which is what we did when we first arrived there in 2023. Within Laos, the most popular route is between Vientiane, probably the chillest country capital in Asia, with many beautiful temples all over, Pattaya I think it's pronounced, a huge triumphal arch, and views of Thailand over the mighty Mekong River, and Luang Prabang, an absolutely amazing little town up north with French architecture and absolutely mesmerizing nature around it. Between the two, there is also Vang Vieng, a nice backpacker village in the middle surrounded by karst mountains, famous for inner tubing and many freshwater lagoons, as well as some great hiking and buggy riding opportunities. The road between Vang Vieng and Luang Prabang used to be fairly rough, but now the Chinese built a fancy railroad extending into China, so the trips have gotten significantly easier. As I mentioned, we were there in 2023, and back then it was not possible to buy tickets for cash in Vientiane. It was possible in Vang Vieng or Luang Prabang though, but in Vientiane you had to buy them using a QR code, which you could only do if you had a Lao bank account. So we ended up waiting at the ticket office for some time until somebody came who agreed to do this for us. In the end, it was a couple of young monks who agreed, and we ended up just giving them cash, which I'm super thankful to them for agreeing to do. The situation may have changed since, please write a comment if it has. But overall, Laos is an amazing destination, quite easy to travel around, especially after that railroad has been built, and with a lot of things to see. The route that I showed in this video is the main tourist one, but of course there's a lot more things to see in the country. Cambodia. Same. Sure, you can fly into Phnom Penh directly, but I found that the best way to enter Cambodia from Vietnam is by flying to the island of Phuoc Loc and getting to the city of Ha Tien by ferry, from where you can take a Grab to the border, and then take a taxi from the border into Kampot. By the way, the main taxi app in Cambodia is PassApp. This is a cool little riverside town with a sizable expat community, some super cool people, and very interesting French architecture. It's also famous for its peppercorns, which are the best I've ever tasted in my life. In some convenience stores, they actually sell these little packages of salted peppercorns as snacks. It's better than you think, and they're a bit pricey, but they're so worth it. Trust me, do yourself a favor, try one. The capital, Phnom Penh, is an interesting place, super chaotic, very random, and rather gritty. Like you have the National Assembly building next to the Embassy of Australia, which is next to a Chinese wet market, which is next to some of the fanciest skyscrapers in the city, which in turn are next to some gritty alleys. Considering the country's history, don't expect it to be polished at all. But there is a nice boulevard here, a really cool waterfront promenade, and some good restaurants. Also, keep in mind in Cambodia that aside from the riel, US dollars are freely accepted in the country. But they have to be of pristine quality, like not even a crease. So if you do bring dollars into the country with the intent of paying in dollars, do make sure that they are very good looking. And also be aware that you will not necessarily get your change back in US dollars, especially if you plan to spend some of the larger bills. After Phnom Penh, we went up north. We traveled through Cambodia by bus. Cambodia is not a very big country, and bus travel is quite easy and doesn't take too long. I bought the tickets online right here, and then we just got to the station and went for it. To Siem Reap, of course. Siem Reap is a nice town. It's obviously more wealthy and happening than most other places in Cambodia. That, of course, is due to the fact that Angkor Wat is located near the city, which is definitely a bucket list item. It's an amazingly gorgeous place, and it's a surreal experience watching the sun rise over the temple. There are a lot of guides around town, and a good price for a tour from Siem Reap to Angkor Wat and a few temples around is about $20. This is for 2 people. You have to wake up very early for this, obviously, so you need to get ready in advance. It gets pretty crowded and loud generally, but still worth it. As well as exploring the temples in the vicinity, such as Ta Prohm. That's the place where trees seem to be growing out of the temple itself. It was also featured in some Lara Croft movie, and Bayon, another gorgeous temple, one of my favorites in all of Asia. There are many more temples further out from Siem Reap as well, so if you're planning to stay in Siem Reap for longer, I encourage you to do so. Of course, there are many more destinations possible to explore from Vietnam, but if you're looking for more adventure, continue on to my next video about this, which covers destinations such as Singapore, Brunei, South Korea, and even Sri Lanka. And of course, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the Elitka channel. Thank you very much for watching, and stay nomad.